Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to do the wet on wet technique with acrylic paints, which is not normally how you do it. Normally you would use watercolors. Now the reason we're using acrylic paints and we're using the wet on wet technique is because after looking at Nancy Work's work, we noticed that there's big solid blocks of color, but it almost has kind of like a marbly, washy texture to it, right? It's not a solid color. It kind of was a little bit washy. So that's hopefully what we're gonna achieve by using this technique today. Okay, so first thing is first, this is my materials that everybody has out in front of them. We have a piece of paper. Now notice this paper is some pretty thick paper, but it's not insanely thick. Like if I poured some water on this right now, it might ruin the paper. So we're gonna try and avoid doing that. Over here, I have three colors, and what three colors are those? The primary colors. You're right, it's the primary colors. Very good, but raise your hand next time. We have the primary colors over here, and if you notice, they're socially distanced. They're socially distanced because we don't want to mix these things at all. Remember looking at Nancy Rourke's paintings, they were just the primary colors. Nothing was really mixed. Maybe a little bit of green here and there, but for the most part, no mixing at all. The primary colors, and that's it. Over here, I have a cup of water, and over here, I have a cup of water. Now, this gets a little confusing. I have 2 cups of water, but if you notice, this cup of water is under a paper towel. And the reason it's under a paper towel is because this is the cup of water that I'm going to rinse off my brush with. When I dip it in here, all I have to do is go like this. It's right here. See? Right away, and I can dry off my brush right here. This one's all the way over here. This is kind of a huge mess. If I bring this brush all the way back, I'm dripping all the way down until I get to this paper towel. Okay, so I think we're just going to get right into it then. Oh, wait a minute. Let's just talk one more thing. We've already talked about this, of course, but when you're holding your brush, we're holding it at the furrow right here, like this, like a pencil, how you would hold a pencil. Got a little circle in the middle. Wait a minute. Hold on. I totally forgot probably the most important thing about this method of painting. Why do we even have these 2 cups? This one over here, the one that we're going to be washing our brushes with, if I wash it with my blue, and then I wash it with my yellow, and then I wash it with my red, this water is going to be looking pretty dirty. That's fine. It's going to be a bit of a brown over here, but I want this water, this is the super important part, I want this water to look totally clean, okay? That's why we have this one over here just for rinsing, and this one's over here for the wet on wet method, okay? So we're going to jump right into it, and you're going to see that I'm only using this to wash my brush, and I'm only using this to apply to the paper. Now look, this looks like a clean brush too, right? Very, very clean. Okay, so I'm okay to go inside of this cup over here. So I'm going to dip it in this cup, and I'm going to be applying just a little bit of water to the surface. It's like I'm putting a little layer of water on. Now if I keep adding water, like I said before, this paper is gonna crinkle up really quick because it's thick, but it's not that thick. It'll start to crinkle up like any paper will. So I'm gonna add some water here, and I got a little skin. I can see that the surface is a little bit glossy, so I'm gonna pick a color. I'm gonna start off with, I think, yellow. That was a terrible idea. It's not gonna show up. That's okay. So I'm gonna start out with yellow, and I'm gonna come over here, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna be a little scratchy with it. I'm not really pressing into the paper that much. I'm just kind of being a little bit scratchy with it. Now, if you see, it's not a solid color. Can you see that? I'll bring it up here. It's not really a solid color. It's a little bit marbly. Now, I didn't use a ton of water. If I would have used more water, probably look better. Don't worry, we're gonna do it again. We're living and learning. So it's looking a little bit marbly, and it's not just a solid yellow anymore, which is exactly what we want. Because remember looking at her work, that's exactly how it looked like. Now look, my brush is yellow, and I don't want to use yellow next. So I'm going to bring it over to this cup over here, and this is where this cup starts to get a little bit dirty. I'm going to rinse it off, and I'm just tapping at the bottom, tap at the bottom of the cup. And then I can come right over here because I have my paper towel right underneath it, and I can just dab it onto the paper towel. Now see, I still have a little bit of yellow, so I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to tap, tap, tap a little bit more. Tap, 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 tap. I'll take it out, and I'll try it again. And that time, look at that. Totally clean. Perfect. Okay. So we're going to try this again this time, and then we're going to use a little bit more water. Okay? So, you know what? This time, just like in Nancy Rourke's paintings and like how we're going to do today, we're going to be drawing within some geometric shapes. So I'm just going to draw kind of a random geometric shape over here. Whoa, iPhone storage is full. That's because Mr. Mike likes to draw himself painting a lot. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little geometric shape over here. Okay, that kind of looks like Pennsylvania. Okay, so we are going to take our paintbrush, and I've washed it off. That's a huge mess over there. And I'm going to dip it. Oh, I almost just did that too. We don't want to dip it in here. If we're about to paint on here, we want to use our really, really clean water, right? So we're going to come over here, dip, dip, dip into our clean water. Now here's the very important part. Wherever this water touches is where the color is going to go. And we learned that before when we tried this. So I need to make sure that I'm coloring inside of the lines. Now this is hard because you can't see where you're coloring. It's water, right? You have to look at the sheen when it shines. Okay, so you have to look around, make sure there's a skin of water on everything within this line. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put it down right near that line, and I'm going to go around like this. Okay. Well, that's ironic. It's looking a little red. Looks like I didn't finish washing off my brush. Okay. Perfect. Maybe I'll wash it off a little bit more. Oh, yeah. Uh-oh. Okay, so I definitely use more water this time. I'm coming in with a little blue. Okay. Now remember, we're being scratchy now. I'm being scratchy now, but I'm also being careful because I don't want to go over the edge of our lines that we just drew. Okay, look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Perfect. Okay. Look at that. Awesome. So what do I have to do with my brush? I can't just put it down like that. I got to bring it over here. I'm going to tap, 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 tap. And I'm going to wash it up. Now, before I can do any more shapes, especially if they're going to be touching this shape over here, I need to let this dry. So using the power of movie magic, we'll let it dry. Ready, set, go. Now I've let this dry a little bit. Now what I mean by that is the water on the surface of the paper is dried, but the paint itself is not dried. If I were to stick my finger in this paint right now, I'd get paint all over my hand. So I'm not going to do that. Okay? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add in a new geometric shape over here. Okay? Now we're going to do the shape red. And I do not want to make any purple. Now, fun fact, these are not the primary colors. They won't really make purple and make kind of a muddy looking color. But I don't want to mix them at all. Even though that water is all soaked up, it'll keep the red from traveling into the blue. If I recoat this with my water cup over here, if I get this wet again, the water or the paint will still travel in there and it can make this all muddy and change colors. We want this to stay blue, blue. Okay, blue, blue, blue. Okay, so we're going to come over here. And remember, we're being super, super careful. Super careful not to get outside of that line. Wow, look at that. Perfect. Gonna come over here and I'll fill in the rest of it. Remember, I'm not using too much water, just a little bit of water. Okay? I'll come over here to my red. I'm gonna tap, tap, tap. Now notice I'm just using the tip of this brush too. Do you see that? I'm not going all the way down to the furrow. If I did that, not only would it be a huge mess possibly, especially when I'm trying to keep it super controlled, but I could also ruin the brush. That would be terrible. Okay, coming over here, look at that. Ooh, looks like watercolors. Scratchy, 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 but still careful. Scratchy, 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 but careful. Ooh, look at that. And look at that. It's blue. No crossover. This red is staying over here and this blue is staying over here. Perfect, perfect. Okay? So we're going to all go and give it a try now. Okay? Oh, gotta go wash that brush.